Did you know that the majority of America's gold reserves are not fully owned by the United States? In fact, nearly all of the nation's gold reserves are encumbered with a lien held by the Federal Reserve. This unusual arrangement can be traced back to 1933, during the administration of President Franklin D. Roosevelt. The country was in the midst of the Great Depression, and in a controversial move, the president issued Executive Order 6102. This order prohibited private citizens from owning gold, mandating that they surrender their gold to Federal Reserve banks. So millions of Americans turned in their gold. In return, they received Federal Reserve notes, which were essentially paper money. This was the first step in a complex financial dance that would lead to the current state of America's gold reserves. With the gold now in its possession, the Federal Reserve became the next actor in this monetary drama. The Treasury then stepped in and purchased this gold from the Federal Reserve. But instead of using cash, the Treasury used gold certificates. These gold certificates are more than just fancy paper. They represent a liability of the Treasury to the Federal Reserve. They are a promise that the Treasury will pay the Federal Reserve the value of the gold, with the gold itself serving as collateral. This arrangement is not unlike a pawnshop transaction. You give the pawnshop your gold watch, they give you a receipt and some cash. The watch is still physically in the shop, but it's not really yours anymore. It's the same with America's gold reserves. They may physically exist in Treasury vaults, but due to these financial arrangements, they're not wholly owned by the American government. This is why some in Congress have been calling for thorough audits of America's gold reserves, only to be met with resistance. It's also why I'm considering Roosevelt's actions as unconstitutional, as Article 1, Section 10 of the Constitution states that nothing but gold and silver coin should be made tender in payment of debts. To add another layer of intrigue, Roosevelt's financial advisor at the time was Paul Warburg, whose father was instrumental in designing the Federal Reserve System. Could his influence have played a part in these decisions? It's a question worth pondering. In the end, while the gold may physically exist in Treasury vaults, it's not truly owned outright by the American government. It's a reality that's as glittering and complex as the gold itself.